Welcome to the Koffe Brown Show.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome to the Koffe Brown Show. Faith, purpose, business, possibilities flow. Grab your dreams and grab your cup. It's time to rise up.
Welcome to the Koffe Brown Show, where we stir up conversations as rich as your morning coffee.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this special edition of Season 9, the Koffe Brown Show. We have an amazing guest in the building with us, the Natisha Sanchez. Y'all give it up for Natisha Sanchez. Lady, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. And you look fabulous as always, darling.
You do too.
Yes. We got to be looking good out here in these streets. We never know who we're going to run up into, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So let's go back down memory lane real quick and talk about how we even crossed paths. Back down memory lane. So it has been nearly 2 years since our paths crossed at a vision board party. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And everybody was so sweet. I loved it.
Yes. So what made the difference in us crossing paths? So I know sometimes I know you go to a lot of networking events. I'm always at some networking event. What made the unique distinction that there was a probability that you and I would be partnered in some kind of capacity in the future?
You know, I'm an empath. I absolutely feel people's hearts and their spirits, and know that when they say something, that where the intent is coming from. And when we spoke, you can tell it was just very, very genuine. Everyone in that room was super genuine, and they exposed their hearts. But you and I just had a conversation, and I was like, she is just amazing. She really is. And she's giving so much out to the world. And I even said it to myself when I went home and I prayed, and I was like, she's giving so much out to the world, Lord, but I need to know more of her. So can you allow this currency connection to foster?
Yes.
And so when I went home and I prayed about it, he's like, invite her to the small business incubator session you're having at the church. See if she can come out. And that's when I invited you to come out. And you're like, really? Yeah, girl, come on through. And you did. And I appreciated that.
Yes, and I had a blast that day, met some amazing people and got a chance to see my girl, Seneca. I was like, oh, and it was it was so crazy because she and I had conversed through social for years. And that was the first time that we'd seen each other in real time from years back. Like I'd seen her only like one time, and from there it was always on the social path, but I never saw her again. And then when I saw that hair and that hat, I was like, it's so amazing how God just allows us to cross paths with people so uniquely. And then he just aligns things like what you talked about with purpose and intentionality for something in the future to show up that we don't even know is coming.
Yeah. And here we are today, right? Who knew?
Here
just
we
from
are. Yes.
setting our vision board and talking about what we wanted to manifest in God's will. And then here we are 2 years later.
2 years later. And you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, a lot of great things, really, really a lot of great things. So we want to get into it all the way into it. So tell me, who is Natisha Sanchez? Tell us about who you are.
I am a child of the Most High God first.
Period.
I am his daughter, and I just love him to death. So that's first. One can have many titles, but that's my first title, is the child of God.
Yes.
The other titles that one might say is that I am Vice President of Human Resources, focusing specifically on employee experience for Synchrony Bank. I am an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also a published author. And I did my first real estate investment. So I'm an investor as well. So I'll stop there, but the list
I
goes
love
on.
that. That is awesome. Congratulations on everything that you've been able to accomplish. That is quite phenomenal. But what really stood out to me is that I am a child of the Most High God. That's my first love. That's my first relationship. That's my first intentionality. That's who I subscribe to all day, every day.
Mhm.
If you find me anywhere in this world, that's who I and whose I am. So I love that. I absolutely love that. There's something else about you that's unique that you did not mention, but you are heavy into the space of making sure that children are not trafficked through
Mhm.
sexual trafficking. You know, there's so many things in Houston. It's like one of the hubs for that, unfortunately. It's like one of the major cities where children are
It is.
trafficked. And I definitely applaud you for positioning yourself inside of an organization to make sure that we can make sure that that doesn't continue to happen. That is something absolutely hideous. On a plane one time, I met a lady that was coming from Atlanta, which is another major place where this
Yeah.
unfortunate things happen. And she was an attorney, and that's what she did for a living. She literally would fly to the major cities and look to make sure there were no children in the airport unattended. And
Wow.
she would go from city to city, just making sure that she did not see that so that she could make sure that she could do what she could to help whenever she wasn't in the courtroom, she was on the plane, just going from
Wow.
city to city. She'd stay overnight and then she'd leave the next day, but she would have the intention to be in the airport for several hours just
Mm.
to make sure that she didn't see any little boys or girls by themselves with their suitcase, young and traveling independently. She always did it. And it was so interesting to hear her quest and then to discover that that's the same arena that you're in. It wasn't by happenstance. It's absolutely amazing. So tell me more about what made you even want to participate in something that is, so heart-wrenching, let alone the impact of participation is really powerful. So what made you want
Mhm.
to join forces with that organization?
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that because, like I said, there's so many ventures that I do, and the commonality of it all is to ensuring that I am pouring into and supporting the body of Christ.
Amen.
And so, because of the wonderful work that United Against Human Trafficking is doing in support of children, mothers, sons who are being human trafficked, I wanted to align myself in that way. And so I do sit on the board in support of them. But what I also love about United Against Human Trafficking is that they're not only stopping at human trafficking, they're also learning and supporting individuals who've been even convicted, and to pour into them where they are focusing on rehabilitation. I think everyone deserves a second chance. And I do think through the love of Christ, he can restore you. And so they do a lot of work in terms of the restoration of these men who may even had, sexual abuse. And they partner with the Houston Police Department to ensure that these individuals are getting the training and the support that they need. So they go beyond just human trafficking, which I love. And I also, it's one of those things where I don't like to see people hurt. I
Right.
don't like injustice. I don't like people who are treating other people unfairly. And just their mission and vision tied to my heart, it tied to my soul. And so, yes, I do support them heavily.
I love that. I love the fact that they want to make certain that these individuals are helped because they need help. For anybody that is doing something like that, they need help. And they
Mhm.
need it's bigger than the fact that they're committing a crime, but why are you committing that crime? And
Why?
usually, yeah,
Mhm.
so many reasons for it. And a lot of times abused individuals end up turning out to be the abuser later
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And so that's powerful to know that they are doing that. That is absolutely amazing. So let's talk about your business. When we talked before, you mentioned in a few different instances that you believe that you were called to build business. Where did that come from? Do you recall exactly what happened in your life that kind of hit you in the head and you were like, and in the heart, because it's a heart thing too, right? When it comes to building a business and a brand, it's a head and a heart thing. But what
Mhm.
was it that happened to you where you said, okay, I got to do this?
Um, when I received the gift of speaking in tongues,
Okay.
my connection with the Lord and hearing his voice clearly just expounded. And I don't know, every time I went to sleep and I woke up, it was another creative idea. It was another thing that I can do. And he made me feel like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens him. To be honest, it was like I would look at TV and I'm like, I can do that. And this is how I do it. And all of the ideas on how to do it it was like unfolding in front of me.
Wow.
And so I became like this person where I could do it. I could do it even at work. It was like, I can do it. Why can't I do it? And it made it so important for me to do everything with excellence as well, because you can spread yourself thin. You can
Facts.
have all of these different things and you're not doing any of them well. And it was just so much download that was happening that I had to also say, God, give me the pace so that I can have the time and the space to do all of these things. So, and I just kept praying. He gave me the name of my business, and then he gave me the name of my brand. And then it was like all of this energy and passion to do these things. Even today, where I am today is not where he wants me to be. There is so much more that he wants me to accomplish. And so I can't tell you exactly what time and what I will say is what started it is when I became blessed with speaking in tongues. And that was a dramatic moment for me. So after that, everything's just started unfolding. Confidence started unfolding. Yeah, I would say that would be the moment.
Wow, that is powerful. We don't have time to unpack that in totality because that's something very spiritual that we don't actually have the time to do it justice in unpacking for sure. But nonetheless, I do, want to forge forward with you when it comes to one other aspect of your business, which is the wellness. You are
Oh,
heavy into the the wellness space and doing a lot of
mhm.
things in that space and have been for quite some time, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Is that your first business?
Yeah. Yeah, it actually was. I started bodybuilding and being a bodybuilder in 2018. I had my first competition in 2018 and then I did it for about, started training in 2017 and then had my first competition actually in 2017 and had my last competition in 2019. And it's just one of the things that I love. I love being able to sculpt one's body, but most importantly, what I learned through that journey is that if your head ain't right, you will never get your body right because your
Mhm,
body follows what your head says, right?
mhm,
And so,
mhm,
so it's one of my passions. It's also time and dedication and discipline, right?
mm.
In order to get your body down to 10% body fat, you have to be consistent, working out 2 times a day, eating the right food. One meal can throw off what you look like. And so it's being diligent and persistent about what the end result you want to have. And that to me helped me build my mind. And then my body just followed.
That's deep because, I can attest to that from this year. Like I'd been working out for years and I did
Mhm.
semi pro bodybuilding years ago. But the crazy part about it was I hadn't rediscovered what my body required.
Mm.
And when I sat down and started rediscovering,
Yeah.
my body had a desire for things that I didn't even, the fuel that it
You didn't
needed.
listen to.
What I didn't know what to
Hmm.
listen for.
Yeah.
Like a lot of women, we just don't know what to listen for after the having babies, after the menopause, after these different seasons that our body goes through. Our body
Mhm.
requires different types of
Mhm.
fuel. and we have
Yep.
to understand and do deep dives and understand my body doesn't want that anymore. You
Yep.
know, and one of my dearest friends, she was like, you got to think about the shift of food to a divorce and say, oh, that was a good relationship while it lasted, but it no longer serves me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I had to look at my relationship with food. And just because I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in diets, I think that's
Yeah.
a
The
trick.
lifestyle.
It is. I think that's a whole trick to get people to believe that they can sustain that for a long time, and you can't. It's not
Mm-hmm.
realistic. It's not conducive. It's not a reality check. You have to make a different decision for your life's journey. And when I did that, I went in the pantry, threw everything in the garbage. I went in
Right.
her fridge, threw everything in the garbage. Like I just went crazy one day, you know, and just threw stuff away that no longer served my body. Some people were like, "Why didn't
Mhm.
you give it away?" I didn't want to have it to transport anywhere for
Yeah.
for the
Mm-hmm.
thought that there was a probability that my brain would say, "Oh no, that's no, we no, we're not good with this. It's going in
Mm-hmm.
the garbage." And then I began
Mm-hmm.
to, make that day of reckoning and say, we just not buying this anymore. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to be a conscious decision. I think it's also reframing how you're looking at food. You talk about you
Absolutely.
have these people who are like, I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie. I love just the taste of food. That's okay. Everything is okay with balance. And too much of anything, it's not good for you.
Right.
So I look at food as fuel.
Mhm.
Now, there are times I treat myself. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to deny myself of anything, but I look at food as fuel. Like, okay, I need to start the machine. What time are you starting the machine? Because if you delay the machine being started, therefore you are delaying you from starting to burn fat. And, it's like how you can't start a car if you don't put the gas in it, right? Like
Right.
you gotta put the gas in your body. You got to put the food in your body so that metabolism can start burning. And so a lot of the times people think, starving yourself is going to help you. No, that's actually the opposite direction. It's actually going to hurt you
Right.
because you are not starting the engine, and you have to start the engine with something that is right. Because some
Mhm.
people, you can't start the engine with coffee. It will
Mhm.
shut your entire body down. It will dehydrate you first thing in the morning. I know, because that's me. You got to start your body with protein. Some people, you can start it with some fats, right? And so I paid attention to my body. I know what my body is saying. I know exactly what my body wants. If I have this something that's going on, I'm researching what is the healthy, most organic way to deal with this. Because I'm also not a person who focuses on taking medication. My
Right.
medication is the naturopathic way.
Right.
And so that's one of my hobbies. I love finding out what heals this, what does this naturally,
Mhm.
because that's really the sustainability. Drink your soursop, eat your, your sea moss every day. These are preventative measures that you do. And so what if it doesn't taste good?
Yeah, it's not really about that. It's more so about conditioning your mind
Condition. Hmm.
say that this is what the body is requiring. It's not optional. It's the same way when, they always say for us especially because our organs are hidden. You need
Hmm.
to go ahead and get that very uncomfortable well woman exam
Yes.
annually. Very, very uncomfortable, but it's so productive and
Hmm.
helps us to know what's going on internally, and that's how we have to think about supplements and food and the things that we need to be consuming that will make sure the temple is running at its best and highest use, and that's what's
Hmm.
important. And then of course too, and you already know this because you're in this space, is proper rest and hydration.
Rest. Oh my goodness. That's whew, number one. Number one. You're not getting the proper rest. And I love that you leaned on going out and getting checked and making sure that you're doing those routine checkups. Men and women, we fail
Yep.
sometimes because we run and we're wanting to be business women and businessmen or employees, and you're supporting everything outside of yourself. You got to take the time for yourself to get the checkup. And the other thing is for me, let me tell you, if I'm feeling an ailment, it is to the 20th degree. I don't care if it is something small. I'm going to treat it like it's the 20th degree. You know why? Because I never want anything to fester for a long period of time, brushing it off, thinking it's nothing, and then it's actually something major. And especially for, African American women and men, our symptoms and our issues aren't treated with the same level of urgency as everyone else. So if something
Mhm.
is 10% to me when I'm going to the doctor, it's 120%. I can't take it. My stomach hurt. Like, it's traumatic. But whatever it takes to make sure that I walk away with a secure understanding of what's happening.
And that's fair. That's fair. And you're right about that. I am a person that does a lot of reading, and I discovered an article a couple years ago that was very disturbing in a medical journal, because that's what I really wanted to do with my life when I was younger, was be a doctor. And so
Mhm.
I've always had a heavy passion for medicine. And I discovered in a medical journal, it talked about candidly about women of color not being supported properly in the medical
Mhm.
field, period. And
Yep.
it went on to really give this deep dive as to these doctors' mindsets. And some of them look like you and I with those
Mhm.
same mindsets. And it was startling, yet it just shed light on the fact that we have to be an advocate for our own health.
Ourselves.
We have to be
Mhm.
our own advocate. We have to speak up and say, hey, I need you to test this, that, and the other, and I need you to do this, that, and the third. Because I remember a few years ago, I went and I had my uterus checked. They
Mhm.
were like, well, that's not necessary. You don't need to do that. I said, no, I need to make sure it's the right size. There's no defects in my uterus. And they were like, well, are you planning on having another child? No, I am not. However, I am 40 something years young at the time. And I knew that I was coming upon that shift in my life where menopause
Mhm.
was going to be, my destiny for every woman. Absolutely. Every last one of us will have to go that way and cross that path. And I wanted to be prepared on how
Mhm.
to defend myself if the doctor wanted to give me some type of impractical resolve for my next phase of life. And that's exactly what happened. I went to the doctor for an exam. The doctor said, well, if you're not having any more children or whatever, you can go ahead and just get a hysterectomy. And I said, so you want me to throw off my whole human ecosystem?
Correct.
And that's what I said, do you understand what the actual ovaries and the fallopian tubes and the uterus actually does for a woman? And he was like, well, I've been in the medical field for such and such. I said, so you should not ever ask a woman to have her uterus removed if there's nothing going on inside of her temple that requires that.
Mhm.
And he was like, Miss Brown, I apologize. I didn't even think of it. I said, yeah, because you're so inundated.
Conditions too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. And your brain is on this level, and you're not considering the actual human being that you're dealing with. But I'm gonna stop you. We're not gonna do a 99213 today. And that's a code medical. For those of y'all that know about medicine, that's the office visit. I said we're not doing
Yeah.
992. We're gonna do a 99215 because I got questions and you're going to answer them. Because I got to pay you anyway, right? So I got to pay you anyway. So I need you to come on back in here. I need this type of blood work done. I need
Mhm.
to look at this, that, and the third. I'm at this age. I need this done, yada, yada, yada. He was like, well, how you know all that? I said, because I wanted to be you.
And
And
the
so,
key though, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. And so I just learned so much about self advocacy. And my dad's handicapped. So my mom learned, and some of my siblings had different things going on. And my mom really honed in on that advocacy to go
Mhm.
in and literally defend yourself, not saying they're doing anything right or wrong, but make sure that what you need gets addressed when you get in that doctor's face.
Absolutely. But what I love about what you just said is that you already, even though, yes, this is what you wanted to do, so you already had that historical knowledge. What I will say to those viewers watching is that you got Claude, you got ChatGPT, you have
Mhm.
Gemini, you have all of the resources out there that can help you get information at your fingertips. Do your research. Here are
Mhm.
the symptoms that I am experiencing. What are the possibilities of what the outcome could be based on these symptoms? Have it
Mhm.
pull it up, right? And then go to the doctor and say, okay, can you validate why, these things? Could it
Mhm.
be this? Could it be that? Because sometimes they're so conditioned about the number of patients they see with the same exact symptoms, they may
Right.
point out a symptom that isn't yours.
Mhm.
So it's important to do your research first. Now we understand that sometimes, the internet will give you the worst possible situation, but I would rather go to the worst and work my way down to the least than start off at the least and it being the worst. So it's really important for you to um know your information, know your body, but also do the research so that you're well equipped when you're having those conversations. Because that one conversation about what you research can steer that doctor in a different direction to get you the medication and the support that you truly need.
Absolutely. And to take it a step further, when you talk about AI, because that's my wheelhouse and certified,
Mhm,
I love it. There is another site called Perplexity, and Perplexity is for deep research. And whenever
mm,
you decide to use any type of AI tool, you must require it to do what's called deep research. Don't get anything
mhm.
superficial and get it from reputable sources. Make sure you
Mhm.
caveat when you do that. I need it from reputable sources, and I need you to show me where you got the data from. And it will literally show you everything, where it went to search it. This is the article. It'll give you exactly the specific details as to where it went, how it obtained the information. So that way, you know, whenever you go to the doctor and they say, well, how do you know that? Well, this is where I found it.
Mhm.
And this is important because sometimes they need to know the source of where you got the
Yeah.
information from. It's very important that you understand the source. It's important that you know your blood type.
Mhm.
It's important that you know these basic things about your body whenever you go to the doctor. Let's pivot. Let's
Yeah.
pivot. You share something remarkable about how your faith does not sit outside of your business.
Mhm.
How do you infuse your faith without forcing people to believe as you do?
Oh, wow. That's such a great question. I feel like it is through my actions and how I operate every day. And so sometimes people look back and they watch, right? And they look
Mhm.
at how you lead, how you connect, how you network. And over time, it helps them to get into that same space. Now, if I'm talking to a client, as an example, and they're wanting something, I respect everyone's belief. Let me just say that. I respect who they believe in, or even if they don't have a belief. But what I'm not going to do is waver mine. However, it doesn't mean that in every conversation I am saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on the individual and I'm going to lead with my heart. I'm going to lead with kindness and I'm going to lead with the love for them as what I call the body of Christ. And so I don't infuse my belief on other people. I allow the way I operate and the love that I show them for their and the interest that I have for their betterness to then shine. And ultimately, I feel like that attracts people to want to be around me more, which ultimately sees how I live my life. And hopefully that brings them to Christ. But when I focus on business, I'm focusing on the kindness and the support that that individual needs. And in hopes that just my kindness in itself draws them closer.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that's not, you said something very major about you have a respect for people's belief systems, and that is what really helps to sustain business over time, because all
Mhm.
of us, even if we subscribe to the same creator, it doesn't
Mhm.
mean our belief is exactly the same as far as how we express our
Amen.
relationship. So, you'll find people who profess to be believers, but they live their life a totally different way than the way you lead your life. And,
Mhm.
there's another level of honor and integrity and respect that you have to have for those that don't believe the same as you do. And it can be a little bit challenging because we may say, well, I ain't no Grace Road like that. You know what I mean?
Great.
But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It just means that's what they believe.
Yeah.
And that is really powerful that you said that. And I'm glad you brought that up. So walk us through what self-funding looks like when you don't have the capital from coming from an outside source.
Oh, let me tell you, that's all I've been doing. In getting my business to a place that it is, to a place where banks are willing to invest in me and allow to fund me, right?
Mhm.
But it's tough, right? The benefit that I have is that I am in corporate America, and so I do well at my corporate job. which helps me to fund my other businesses, which is great. However, that means there is prioritization that needs to take place. You
Mhm.
know, are you going to prioritize the thing that you know that you're passionate about and investing into yourself? If you are, that means sometimes that vacation might have to wait. It may mean sometimes those red bottoms you can't buy today, and you put that money into the thing that you are pouring into yourself with, and ultimately, in the end, the fruit will prevail and it will replicate itself over and over and over again. And so, for me, it's around prioritization and my own capital and where I put it. I'm no longer looking at money in the same way either. I feel like every time I look at $100, it's like that $100 can go into my business or that $100 can go into a meal, you know, or a nice dinner for myself. And so
Mhm.
I rather pour that $100 into my business because I know that $100 will make me $1,000 or $2,000, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's also about looking at money differently and how you invest in yourself, but it's not easy because other things have to be pushed in the back burner to support yourself and your dreams.
Very true. Very true. At what point do you stop letting your traditional position fund the business? When you start being able to see the business actually start to become profitable, how
Mhm.
long do you make those sacrifices when it comes to business? And is that really realistic over time?
You know, it is something I'm gonna be honest with you, Coffee, that is something that I've been praying about,
Mhm.
because it isn't. I mean, ultimately, you're gonna have to make a decision, and God's gonna force you to make a decision.
Yeah, facts.
He
Facts.
will. You know, and so don't be surprised if one day, you know, you get laid off. Because God's saying, I'm gonna free up your time to do the things that I poured into you that I
Mhm.
know is gonna create greater fruit.
Mhm.
And so it is something that I pray on. All the time. I just love what I do, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love human resources. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. It to me, it's still another way to pour into people. I know some
Mhm.
people look at HR like, oh, doesn't really have the greatest outlook, but I am not that HR leader. I truly love people. And so I want to support people and I love what I do. So it's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's something that I'm praying about. And if it's God's will that tomorrow I step out on faith and just focus 100% on my investments and my entrepreneur stuff, then that's what I'm going to have to do. But it's tough.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it can become exhausting over time, especially when we stretch ourselves too
Mhm.
thin. With only having 24 hours like every other person in the whole world, how do you create the space for you to rest properly, to be able to work out properly, to be able to have those times of refreshing, to be able to still commit to the full-time position that you just mentioned? And be able to allow you to just be a woman and chill out.
It is discipline, y'all. I have discipline. If it's not on the calendar, it's not gonna happen. I'm so structured. I am really structured. But I do allow for flexibility at times, right? I do allow for that. But mainly, I'm very, very structured. I get up in the morning, I'm speaking to the Lord, I'm doing my praise and worship, I'm checking my emails before the day starts, I'm getting my notes ready for all of my meetings, I'm training my clients because I'm also a personal trainer. I'm training my clients. I've tried to fit everything into the day and I've scheduled it out 1 hour for this, 2 hours for that. And sometimes it doesn't happen the way you intend, but at least I have been able to outline what am I trying to accomplish and what is the impact that I'm wanting to get from it. And if it's not going to serve me and it's just to check the box, then it's not going to get done because I'm not going to do anything just to check the box. It has to have results. But there are also times where you got to check the box because tactical things also helps to make your business move. So prioritizing those things as well. So for me, I think it's also prioritization. I travel a lot for work, and some people are like, "How do you travel and still personal train?" Well, I have my clients send me videos of what they've done. Yep, you did it. And I set them goals for the week when I'm not there. So they don't feel the absence of me. They know that I love them and they also respect what I'm doing. So those are some of the key things that I do. It doesn't always work out all the way you intend, but I'm very, very structured.
So with the structure, is there room for love in the equation of the structure?
Yes, yes, yes. I am in my dating season.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I agree. I love it. I love it. So
I am.
how does
Yeah.
that play into this entire structural Natisha Sanchez life, because I do know from experiencing aspects of you over time that you are like super like, yeah, like you kind of, who you put me in the mind of, not exactly the same, but when Nia Long played in The Best Man,
Huh?
and her role as Kendall Jackson
Mhm,
was, she was super, super structured. But when they went into The Best Man Holiday, she had a boyfriend.
mhm.
And she would make comments like, you could have texted or, you could have called. You didn't have to come over here. And you could hear how the structure impacted
Yeah.
their relationship. Do you feel like the structure impacts your relationships adversely, or do you think it complements it?
I think it complements it. Now let me tell you, I've been married. I'm not married anymore. So there are lessons that has come with that. And I
Okay.
also recognize that I have to be flexible. And so I've learned how to prioritize as well my relationship equally as much as I prioritize. I don't know why my tongue is getting twisted right now. Maybe because of the topic, Lord. Um,
This
but
is coffee,
I
honey. She's gonna pull out the questions, honey. She's gonna pull out the questions.
I'm ready to be married again. And so I understand that that comes with me kind of putting my walls down, opening up my heart, opening up my life to someone else. And so I'm just very honest about what I have going on for the day and when can we connect. And oftentimes, even when I'm in the middle of a meeting, some of the, whomever I'm dating at the moment, I'm gonna call, hey, I was just thinking of you. Or I'll text, hey, I was just thinking of you. What made you smile today? Even if it's in between a meeting that I have 5 minutes, I try to do that because I never want someone to feel like I can go a day without thinking of them or wanting to be around them because yes, it is very busy, but I'm also very honest in communication around here's what my day looks like and here's where I'm allocating time for us to connect. Does that work for you? And it seems to work so far.
That's what's up. That's where the magic happens, is making room and having space to receive what you say you really want, like getting yourself
Mhm.
ready and prepared. Because I say to women all the time, you're not the wife when you get married, you're the wife before. And
Yeah.
how are you showing up as the wife? Are you showing up to where a man can see when he crosses that path with you to say that this woman is definitely wife material? She has
Mhm.
the characteristics that I'm looking for in a wife, not just a woman, anatomically, she's a woman, but no, she has those wife behavior. She has a wife characteristics. I can definitely see her as my helpmeet for sure. So let me ask
Mhm.
you, how did you make the decision? What was the factors that made you decide to be a part of Faith Funding and the Female Founder?
Well, I think it's also relationship.
Mhm,
Our
mhm.
relationship that we had, I trusted you when you called and said, hey, I was thinking about you, but it's also what I've been praying for. God told me in 2025, it was time. And it was time to get out of my shell because he had hid me for 2.5 years. And in 2025, at the beginning, I actually have a post on Insta or Facebook that said, it's time, because I wanted to timestamp that message. And so when you called and you were like, I think you'd be great for this. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like, this is exactly what I've been asking for, is an opportunity to share my story and an opportunity to help other people in this space. But it also started with the relationship that you and I had developed over time. If someone else calls you and says, hey, I want you to be a part of this project, you probably be like, oh, know about that because I don't have a relationship with you. But it's the relationship and the
Mhm.
friendship that we have curated over time that one made me say thank you, God, for you to see me the way you did, to be a part of this project. but it was also thank you for allowing people to see my heart through this book.
I love that. And you know what's crazy? Like when your name dropped in my spirit, I was sharing with on another broadcast that I did with another one of the writers. The question was asked to me by Dr. Shamika, like, well, how do we even get here? How do we arrive at this destination? And I said, you know, God gives me this list. He always gives me a list of people to reach out to. And your name was on the list. And I was like, why did you put Tisha's name on here? What is it that you want her to talk about? And it's interesting. You remember how we went through the titles and you were like, these all
Yeah,
several of the titles were like, you were like, wait a minute, this chapter title, this one, that one. Coffee, I need some help in choosing because this,
I
like,
need
I'm talking about all these, like, for real, for real. And I remember when we kind of broke it down to what would really complement Tisha's journey. And when we discovered that chapter, we both were like, It was almost like it was just a piece about what really resonated with who you are, what you'd accomplished, and everything you had to do to get to where you are, in your business and all of those things. And I was just so excited. And then, we had another cross to bear through the process to get your other, journal published that you had in the works for a long time. And I
yeah.
literally created the documents the night before when you reached out and you were like, I got it, Coffee. I was like, yes, because I literally, girl, I had those documents ready. If we had to
I
send a
know.
demand for release, I was like, oh, I got the documents ready, And when we
Mhm.
caught up that next day, you were like, I got what I needed. And then when I got the message from you, hey, Coffee, it's done. I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Published.
So it
Mhm.
was really awesome to see that process, and I love how you talked about paying attention to relationships, paying attention to them, cultivating them, building them. I think Myron Golden said something. I was actually listening to, and by the way, I just started listening to Myron Golden like in the last 6 months, and people were like,
Oh, wow.
you of all people, you just started. I was like, hey, don't judge me, okay?
Right.
So,
Phenomenal.
and the reason
Mhm.
why I found him is in the program that I'm in to be certified in building AI agents. He
Mhm.
interestingly enough did a class for us one day.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, yeah, he did a class for us one day. And I was like, this dude is really interesting. So I started to pay attention from there. And he talked about the real currency relationships. And then
Currency
he talked
connections.
about that
Mhm.
probability of Judas showing up in the process. Let me
Ooh,
say, let me say, I just shared that. I said Judas shows up in
he
every
shows
scenario,
up. Let me
always,
tell
right?
you.
So let me ask you, whenever you have to deal with, a challenging situation where the person appeared to be genuine, authentic, interested, consistent, wanting to be a part, all those things, and you discover that it was all deception and lies. How do you deal with that?
Oh, man. It listen, we are human. It hurts,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? It hurts
Bad.
first.
We were
You get
bad.
that gut wrenching, like, I trusted you, you
Right.
know? But once you get out of the emotion, you gotta get into your head. You gotta get into what is it, what's the solution?
Mhm.
So I allow myself to feel. I think that's the other piece. First, allow yourself to feel because it's okay. And then you got to get into the space where now what do I do about it?
Yeah.
What I found is that most people, they want an argument. You don't have to have one.
Facts.
They want to push your buttons. You don't have to let them.
Facts.
They want you to react to show other people, see, this is why I did what I did. You don't have to give them that.
Mhm.
But what you can do, you can have a nice conversation around this isn't working with love because they don't expect that either. So
True.
this isn't working. I didn't appreciate what you did. This doesn't align with what we discussed. And moving forward, we will no longer do business together. And then you send them the documents that you need to send them to sever the business if you even need to send anything. That is all that you are required to do in the court of law. Did you disconnect this business? Was there an expiration date? Did you communicate? Did you send them anything? Yeah, here it is. Because what you agreed to isn't what I received. I just am no longer in the place where I'm going to give people my energy. I am in a place of peace always. And so, yes, people will hurt you. Yes, people will disappoint you, but it's how you react to that disappointment and how you deal with the solution is what helps you to continue to grow. And I'm never going to be unpleasing to God. And what he's going to love is my ability to still show love to the people that feels like I should have been out of character. You're not doing that anymore. But I'm going to be very clear with you as to what you did and what I'm not going to happen, what I'm not going to accept to happen any longer. And we're done with love.
That's powerful. Let me ask you a question, to piggyback off of what you just said. When love shows up, what happens when someone asks you about that person and their business? How do you respond to that?
Oh, wow. Everyone experience is different. That individual may have been a horrible person that provided service or whatever to me, but they may be great with someone else. Or they may have also learned and grown within their professionalism and also their business. So I never talk down about someone else's business because my experience wasn't great. And that's essentially what I say. Hey, this person is incredible at the work that they've done. If they didn't, I wouldn't have chose them, right? I wouldn't have wanted to establish business with them. They are great at the work that they did. Or maybe I wanted to receive a service and it just didn't quite work out. So we just decided to not pursue the business relationship any longer. I don't speak down about people's business because, again, I give people grace and opportunity to grow and develop. And I allow you to make your own decision in terms of how you want to operate with that person. Now, I'm never going to let you walk in the fire either. Because if you can learn from...
I was just getting ready to ask you that, because here's the thing. If they didn't deliver what you actually paid for and they weren't integral about it, how do we still move with love if someone comes up, and says, hey, I was interested in this organization. I wanted to get some feedback from you to see what your experience was. What do we do then? Because we're not going to say that they did something they didn't do.
Correct. Right. And so I will say, hey, there's commitments that we established. That person did not meet the commitments. It wasn't to the expectation or my liking. And so it didn't work out. And so if you were to explore getting into a business relationship with this individual, I would ensure that you're checking these boxes, because those are the...
Oh gosh, did we lose you? And Tisha, I think we lost you. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get her back in the studio. What a great conversation. I really want to hear this last part. Hopefully she can hop on back in the studio and we get her back on the stage, because that was getting ready to be a really, really good response. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get her back in the studio. Okay, let's see if we can get her back. It just literally completely froze. Hopefully we can get her back in the studio. What a powerful conversation with Natisha Sanchez. She is absolutely amazing. Super excited to have her on the show talking about her amazing businesses, her partnership with us for Faith Funding and the Female Founder, which is an anthology project that is out in August, and we're so excited about that. And just a relationship. It's been a pleasure to be partnered with Natisha. She's a really solid woman of faith, and she is very integral. I love her spirit. There's been some things that I've had to deal with from an HR perspective, and I've had the opportunity to pick her brain and just kind of sit with it and be like, hey, can you kind of give me some guidance on this? And I appreciate her wisdom and how Natisha shows up with that. There's been times where I had to call her and say, hey, can you help me to navigate through these uncharted territories? And so I've always been appreciative to her in that regard and that aspect. I was just sharing with our audience about who you are as an individual and the value you've added to me when I've had to deal with things from an HR perspective, and how you give the wisdom in that regard. But go back to what you were saying. We ended up where we were talking about how to address if you actually partnered with someone and they did not deliver the product or service that you actually compensated them for. You said something very powerful, that you still refrain from throwing them under the bus, but you do speak to the fact that what I actually asked for them to deliver, what we agreed upon, what the contract stated, they didn't show up with that. And you still did it with such grace and, considering yourself. What you made a very serious point there to basically say, I'm considering myself and even how I respond to this situation. I'm considering the fact that when I it show back up at my address. And I really love that about how you deal with even opposition when it comes to business, when it comes to doing business with someone that may not have been who they said they would be. And so another thing too that I discovered about you in this last incident that we had to kind of navigate through was that you have a level of patience that I don't have the garment for. I got a custom made garment for patience that doesn't extend as far as yours does. And I'm wondering, did that come from your years of actually dealing with humanoids from a professional stance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely did come from that, because not everyone understand what you think is common is not common. When you think
Facts.
it's common sense is not common sense.
Facts.
Because everyone comes from a different background. Everyone comes from a different level of understanding. And so you can't expect someone to get to a place where you already are. So giving them the grace to get there, and not pushing it. You talked about, like, how do you not push your faith on someone? I'm giving them the grace to get there, but I'm also seeing who they are. The positive piece about having discernment is that sometimes God give you the word, and he allows you to see what's in before you. And so grace and patience is one of the two things that I lead with all the time. Because sometimes I'm getting a download. I am 50 yards or 50 steps ahead of you while you still on step 2.
Uh-huh.
I mean, thank you for creating me this way, Lord, right?
Yes.
But I also have the patience to allow people to walk along the journey. One of the things that I have a business coach, and he says, be the consultant, be the coach. And I have it right here in my desk. Be the consultant, be the coach. I don't have to tell everyone everything just because I know it. I can also walk them through to get to where I am already at, because then they feel like they're a part of the journey and not that I told them what the journey should be. And I even do that for my employees that reports directly to me. What would you do? Why did you do that? How did they experience that? Like, I am coaching them along the way so that when the instance comes again, they're not repeating the same cycle.
I love that. Yeah. And that's something that I've learned to do as a certified coach, and having, spent the years, I've been doing it for over a decade. And so, doing my 10,000 hours in order to be a master at something, and still, even in mastery, you still have to, like you said, have grace. You still got to grow. You still got to keep taking more courses and still keep learning and keeping up with what's happening in the real world systems. One thing I discovered is that if you don't get in the trenches with the people, then you really not helping them. You got to get in the trenches with them. You got to let them see themselves and not tell them what they did. You got to let them see. You got to literally be able to step back and share enough information for a person to reflect and say, oh,
yeah,
I need to rectify this.
Yep.
And not tell them, but them to actually see it. Because, I'm on the other end of the spectrum where my clients own their own franchises, and I have to go in and play the bad cop most of the time. And I asked the questions. I said, hey, when it comes to this and when it comes to that, tell me how you do this and that. I know the answer.
You know
I've
the
seen
answer.
the paperwork. I know what they did. And then when they say, you know what, Coffee, I never, I need to fix that. Let me go back and fix this. I'm okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do my documentation. And then when we go back, I say to them, you said to me on this day and this time, this is what you wanted to do. And you haven't done it yet. What's going on? Talk to me.
Mhm.
What's
Yep.
prohibiting you from executing what you said you wanted to
Yep.
experience? Not what I want you to experience, but what
Not
you
what you want.
wanted to experience.
Mhm.
And that's powerful. That's very powerful as a leader. So talk to me about a recent win, something that happened. Doesn't matter the size of the win, but something that happened with you that is helping you to continue down this path, the path that you believe that the Father has you on, the trajectory that the Father has you on. What was a recent win that told you, you know what, I'm gonna keep going?
You said a recent win?
Recent win. Mhm.
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, let's talk about my new journal, workout and worship.
Talk about it.
Right. Let's talk about the spirit of delay that was tried to have its hand on my book. That it took a good 2.5 years just to get this book to come to fruition.
Mhm.
Where there were times where I felt like, Lord, you gave me this vision and it's not going to happen, because every time I thought I was at that place of, yes, time to publish, something went wrong that delayed it for another 4 months. Now,
Mhm.
y'all listening to this might think it shouldn't take that long to do anything. You're right, not to publish a book. It absolutely doesn't take that long. And if you work with coffee, it definitely won't take that long. Um, I'm just going to throw that out there,
All facts.
right?
All day. I am the
Um,
90-day queen of everything. You hear
I
me?
already know, and you better be on time. Um,
Listen, you better be on time and you better be prepared and don't ask me a question that I already sent you an answer to. Okay.
that
Period.
part,
You know
okay?
how we do around here in these streets, lady.
With love, right?
With love, right?
Love. And so in that instance, it was to a place where I'm like, this is never going to happen. I poured so much money into this, and it is now year 2, and I am still experiencing the same struggle. And there were times where I just cried because I'm like, this is a idea that God gave me, and it's not coming to fruition. And it was patience, because there were times where I just wanted the person who was helping me create it was excellent. He is excellent in his craft and what he does.
Mhm.
But again, the spirit of delay was on top of it. What I had going on wasn't a priority. And so because of that, it took me to this long space. But there were times where I just didn't want to be nice. I'll be honest. I was so frustrated that I just wanted the facts, what's going on, what it's doing, when it's going to get done, whatever. And what I learned is being direct and step by step by step. Sometimes people want to feel, not sometimes, a lot of times, people want to feel like they are valued. They want to feel like you are thankful for what they're doing. Even if
Mhm.
doing what they're supposed to do, to be honest, it blows me. But even if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they still want to feel like, thank you for what you're doing. And so when I changed my language, hey, I
Mhm.
know that you have a lot going on. I appreciate you taking this extra time out to make the changes that I've noticed in the book. Can you please tell me when you'll expect to have this done? Because here's what I'm trying to do moving forward, right? And when I started saying, I thank you, I appreciate you, I hope your day's going well, versus, hey, good morning, but, and straight to business,
Mhm.
the response level changed.
Mm.
It changed. And that for me was an eye opener. I'm like, I got to massage people's egos. This is the grace, this is the patience, and this is the love the Lord has says. Because how many times we disappoint him and he still loves us and he still massages our egos. So why am I not doing this on earth as in heaven? I need to change. And
I
so I
love
changed. It hurt me none to say thank you. It didn't hurt me to say I appreciate you. And so
Yeah,
again, when I changed my language, is where we are today. Now the book is fully published.
I love that. I love that. So how excited about are you about your next book that you're playing a part in faith funding and the female founder. How are you feeling about that? Getting ready to manifest. You can ready to manifest again, girl. You 2026, you just showing out.
It's time, Jesus said. I am I'm so excited. I would have never thought that here I am in a space to work with so many amazing, amazing women, including yourself, and believing in me that I was able to pull something out. You guys will love this chapter because you'll probably see yourselves in this chapter, y'all. In this book in itself, at some point, and all the authors, you'll probably see yourselves in any one of us, right? In the experiences. And as Koffe mentioned earlier today, I had a hard time choosing which chapter I wanted to talk about because I could resonate with all of it, all of it. And so being able to express
Probably
what
could
was
wrote the whole book by itself.
well,
Like, wait a minute, this chapter right here, I had an instance where that happened, and that chapter over there, and then that chapter right there, and then girl, listen, I can tell you some stories about that chapter.
yeah, all of it. But again, the trials are, he doesn't give he give the hardest tests to the ones that he knows can bear it, right? And so yeah, my life hasn't been peaches and cream, but let me tell you, the light at the end of the tunnel has always been fruit. It always been tremendous. So I got to thank him for that. But I'm just really, again, thankful that I am finally able to share with everyone what has been in my heart for so long. I am thankful that you saw me. A lot of the times that people see the surface of me, but they never get to see my heart. And I think that you were able to see me, and you pulled me out to be a contributor in this process. So that alone, I am super thankful about. I know that God has given me witty ideas and inventions, and I want to be able to birth those things in the time in which He wants me to birth them. And so this was timely and purposeful. And I thank you for that.
And I thank you for your yes. I have enjoyed like our opportunity to get to know each other even the more, our candid conversations, our times to just be able to, discuss where you are, what you have going on, how we can be of value to you during that time. And like we always have these conversations and we find opportunities to add value to each other. We were talking last and you were like, oh yeah, I might have something for you. And I really am grateful for how God has given us this ebb and flow. As far as connecting is concerned, it's always so powerful to be able to have that without being intrusive into somebody's life.
Right.
I don't want nobody infringing on my right to be me, right? So I love how you're just cultivating and investing the time and things like that. And that's also so important if you intend to have a friendship for a long time, for something to have some longevity to it. It's not overnight. It takes time to cultivate real solid friendships. And I want you back on the show. I want you to come back for we're in season 9 and we're starting season 9 with the Women of Faith Funding and the Female Founder. But as the season goes on, I definitely want you to be back with us and give us some updates. Tell us where you are, what's going on, how things are playing out with you. We want to see you in 27.
Oh, well, whenever you would like to have me back, I am here. I enjoyed this time with you as always.
You're available. I'm gonna have to get on the calendar, okay? I'm gonna have to get my 2-hour slot inside of the calendar, okay?
Oh, both ways, because you are equally as business. You are the hardworking women in Showtime, okay? Steve Harvey's sister.
Steve Harvey's little cousin on his mama's side, okay? Because I gets it in, baby. Listen, I'm getting ready to get on another flight to leave in a couple of days, and I'm in my brain planning it out, going, okay, now how are we gonna do this, that, and the third, and but I'm grateful for this time in my journey to be able to be free, to be able to just move around, move about the world freely, before like yourself, before Mr. be like, where you going? Where we going? I'll be like, well, see what had happened was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And what happened was. And I'm looking forward to, and I definitely, we're at the top of the hour, but I definitely really want to have a show that talks about this when it comes to us as women. A man finds, but we have to make a choice. And a lot
Hmm.
of times women don't want to take ownership of that choice. Girl, you chose that
That's
situation
right.
you found
That's
yourself.
right.
Not play like we ain't make this choice. So
Hmm.
I definitely look forward to us coming back and talking about that. But I want you to share one more thing before we go.
Hmm.
You recently have a property for Airbnb in the Houston area that is just absolutely exquisite.
Thank you.
I really want to go over there and do some video footage and show the people what's popping in that property because that property is hot, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. I was very intentional about how and what we put into the property, obviously with in partnership with my realtor who I bought it site sheetrock because the vision, God said it was the right thing to do. But yeah, no, I do. I have my first property. I do have a space that I am leasing, and I'm looking for a renter today. So if y'all know anybody who's looking for a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom townhome, you let me know. And because I travel so much, I also have a space for Airbnb, and so that would be the second side. And if you know anyone who is interested in an Airbnb for the night, for the day, for the week, feel free. I've actually had some of the employees from United Against Human Trafficking, they went there and they actually did a team building session. So that's an innovative way to utilize Airbnbs to build team buildings. And so they use the bedrooms as breakout sessions. And it was inexpensive versus going to a hotel and renting out a conference room. So I'm just trying to be creative.
That is brilliant. I like the total idea that we gonna have to talk about that after the show because it sounds like I got an opportunity right there when you just said what you said. You
Okay.
know, I definitely got some ideas in this big old brain of mine about some things I want to do. But I like the total idea of that. That's fantastic. I like that a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. Whew, when you just feel that inner peace,
Yes,
y'all,
honey. Yes.
and you're just like, oh no, Lord, but today I just got joy,
Today.
right? Like it
Yeah.
is inside of you and you just want to burst out. People are like, why are you smiling? I'm just smiling, y'all. I'm just smiling. I'm just thankful.
For sure. Well, Tisha, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing all of these amazing things about what you're doing, about your journey, about your business. And we're so excited to really have you as a part of this project and all the other things that you're doing to really make Houston a better city to live in and impacting the lives of so many through your leadership in human resources. So thank you for that. Thank you for your years of serving in that capacity. And I just wish you the absolute most amazing success from here as you go into this next facet of who you choose to be and what you choose to impact in the world and what you choose to give back and the man who's going to be blessed to call you his bride.
Lord, from your mouth to God's ears. Okay.
Period. 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 Thank you again for being present.
Thank you.
We appreciate your presence. You guys, Natisha Sanchez, you can find her on social media. And because her name is spelled so unique, you can easily find her on social media. And when this broadcast airs, you'll be able to find all of her information in the comments when the broadcast airs and be able to connect with her from there. So thank you guys for showing up for this edition of the P. Coffee Brown Show. Go in peace, go in love, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for sharing this moment with me. You came through soft, you came through kind. I feel that light in your eyes tonight. Like everything heavy just loosened up. We laughed, we breathed, we made it real. And I'm still smiling, still here, still amazed. Keep walking by faith, keep moving on purpose. Once we step, then another one. Every scar turned gold, every prayer got answered. And I can feel it now, you're almost there. Stay inspired, stay encouraged. God's best is still ahead. Stay inspired, stay encouraged. We're rising up instead. This is love, this is joy, this is where hope lives. Stay encouraged, God's best is still ahead. This is for the ones who kept on going when the road felt long and the room felt cold. You held your head up, you kept your heart open. Now look at you, you're shining through. Beautiful relationships, beautiful days, beautiful reasons to believe. Keep walking by faith, keep moving on purpose. One sweet step, then another one. Every tear turned wisdom, every fear got smaller. And I can feel it now, you're almost there. Stay inspired. It's your best to still ahead. Stay inspired. We're rising up instead. This is love, this is joy, this is where hope is. Oh, stay encouraged, God's best is still ahead. This is peacock ground, and I'll see you at the top. Head up, hands open, heart full, won't stop. Where you've been was only the lesson. Where you're going, find the blessing. This is love, this is joy, this is what hope lives. Inspired, encouraged, God's best is still ahead.